pretty weird turn, honestly. I was not expecting it to go this way. The way that I had imagined the Heroes universe was just, an Elseworld where all the main characters throughout Hiromishima's works in one-shots were all going to be conjoined, and maybe even characters from other series may be showing up, because obviously it's, the series isn't really a representation of just Hiroshima. Like, the idea primarily, and from conception, was, it's a anniversary series thing going on for the 60th year that Weekly Shonen Magazine has been in print. So there's the potential that other characters could also show up. Not only that, because of the way that it's explained, but as it starts, there's this whole moment where the writer, essentially, I mean, that's what he pretty much is, Mashimir, however, this god's name is pronounced. He says, long ago in a distant past, 60 years ago, and obviously Rebecca, Ellie, and Lucy are a little bit concerned. They were expecting it to be a long time ago. I like that Lucy says that she thought it'd be like 400 years. Obviously 400 being a moment in the story of Fairy Tail, obviously with like Zareth and a lot of events happening 400 years from the start of the series, 400 years back. And Ellie's saying 60 years, which is funny for that because of the time period that Rave Master starts, which is, I know it's like X, I think it's, what, 0054? I'd have to go back and check, or 054, because it's 3 zeros, not 4. But the 60, obviously, knowing the initial conception, like I said, of the series, is because Weekly Shonen Magazine has been in serialization for 60 years. This was its 60-year anniversary. And there is, an explanation that there was a temple where all the gods gathered. It seemed to be some overarching realm over all of Hiromishima's universes. And he says that the Temple of MANGA, and no, not the political group. MANGA obviously being short for magazine, because unlike the others, like you have Weekly Shonen Jump, Weekly Shonen Sunday, this is Weekly Shonen Magazine, where like Fairy Tail, Rave Master, Eden Zero, and a bunch of other series were released. And in it, there's like a bunch of gods, like he says, the Supreme God, Lord George, the God of Diamonds, Terra, the God of Fair Wind, Seo, the God of Arrows, Kai, and a bunch of other gods, which I don't know all of them, at least from only 4 that were kind of hinted at, but 2 of them, I'm pretty sure that the god, like the Supreme God, because he's got, the shades in the boxing gloves, he's supposed to be a representation of the creator of Hajime no Ippo, and the god that has like this baseball theme is the creator of Diamond no Ace. I'm guessing. I haven't done far enough research into this whole concept for it, but as it is, he's saying like when he was young, he also was a divine being inside of this godly realm, to where their whole thing is they created stories to entertain one another. They are essentially creating their own tales. And the stories that, some of them to mention, well, the story of a silver-haired boy who sets out on a grand quest in search of holy stone, story of a boy who wields fire and is a part of a guild, the story of a boy who controls gravity and goes through time and space. That whole thing obviously is in regards to each of the respective series for Rave Master, Fairy Tail, and Eden Zero. Now, what's funny is it's 60 years for the time of the gods, but inside each of their universes, they're different, because you could use 60 for Brave Master's time. You could use 60 even in a way for Eden Zero's time. Because though obviously there's larger gaps of time within them, because in Rave Master, it's only known for sure in Rave Master, but the X and then 3 numbers. Once it gets to 999, it resets. So that's why Rave Master, it's pretty low at the start, because prior to that it was X999, it's reset to 0, and then Fairy Tail, and Eden Zero have their own respective times. You couldn't do that with the Fairy Tail in its own timeline, because all this stuff that happened 400 years specifically from that, it all happened long before this idea of 60 years. But time obviously can flow differently in points of space, and obviously outside a universe to different beings. So, from the way that this is all presented, is that these gods, who are all going to be representations of mangaka in Weekly Shonen Magazine, all created these tales, and in which case they all ended up eventually at least for, Mishimaru's case, and I imagine the other ones as well, ended up taking shape. They ended up being creative, or creativity became creation. He ended up creating universes that existed because of him, and then eventually they started to intertwine. And he says that, part of that is the island, and the island is special because it is in itself like one large mass of creation. It is actually oasis. It's not the gem, it is the island itself. The island is essentially like one giant big arc of creation energy. All the people, all the things, everything on that island is just like raw creative energy. Everything about it. It's all a figment of like his mind made solid. And different from the characters who are, existent in these universes he's made, they spawned from the natural aspects of it, whereas this island all seems to just be instantly sprung up about him. Even his disciple, for Shinra, was all part of his mind. And he wants all these characters to, to try and deal with Oasis, but he's not sure that it can happen because obviously Oasis, is this power of creativity that Genesis wields. And here it is that, the characters, like these females, know that they're male counterparts, so what they're capable of. And they're all pretty confident that they're going to be able to destroy the island, obviously, especially in comparison to all of them. Whereas with Ellie and Haru, like, destroying Darkbrings is their thing. It was the standard for what they did in Ravemaster. But for the members of the Fairy Tail Guild, just destroying things in general, it's just a specialty of theirs. And I did like that there was a little bit of foreshadowing for Eden Zero, because here we have Rebecca saying they could use Eden Zero's secret weapon. So this has to take place, at least for the Eden Zero crew, far into the from the point of where the series is now, or at least in this Elseworlds time different, because Rebecca has to know whatever their secret weapon is, the Etherion canon that the Eden Zero has, and how it exists in their universe versus how Etherion exists in Fairy Tail and it exists in Ravemaster. And you got this like funny moment where or the god of creation, Mishimaru, is like trying to talk to him, and he seems to have like a dramatic moment, but he's just talking about like their massive chests. Ellie doesn't seem like, she seems more kind of like question about it. Lucy's more just like, what? That was a complete like misdirection of what I thought you were gonna say. And Rebecca being, the funny beekeeper who seems to kind of use her looks and cuteness and build for her BQ channel, but in reality is, easily embarrassed, easily rattled by stuff like this. Just is rattled at such. And from that, there's the goofy, quote-unquote villains that have shown up, the members of the Jigglebutt Gang, the comedic group from Ravemaster, who want to try and steal Oasis. I don't know how they'd possibly plan to do it, but keep in mind, they're not a smart bunch. And they're getting, they're going to steal Plu in the process. Ellie, seeing Plu, remembers, one of Plu's powers in Ravemaster is he has the power to destroy Darkbrings, and the whole island is essentially one big Darkbring. Now, I thought it was funny when they're kind of like, being like, well, I ain't gonna take Plu, from us. We already got him. And, they just ran through him. It wasn't hard for them. The Jigglebutt Gang, though are funny, are not a formidable force. And at that point, they're able to use Plu, and Ellie does her thing, throws Plu into the ground, and starts weakening Oasis. And then using all their power to buff him. Again, more foreshadowing, because Lucy, she's got magic naturally. Ellie's got Etherion, which I can't tell from this one if she's got full control over it. Like, she didn't gain full control until, the whole flashback arc. Well, flashback sorta, you know what I mean. Not too spoilery in case anybody hasn't read Ravemaster yet. But, and then you have Rebecca, who doesn't have magic, but there's a little bit of hinting that, she's got something similar to magic. They just, we just haven't got the full explanation of how her leaper power works. Again, it's kind of hard, because it's like, well, she knows of that, the secret weapon of Eden Zero, but it doesn't seem like she has her leaper power in this universe. But again, this universe is separate from the other ones. This is like a universe created because Mishimaru says that his power of creation kind of went out of control. He started to kind of like lose his mind, and the other gods were concerned about his health. And his memories started to kind of like intertwine with his characters and whatnot. He started to not know which memories were his and which were theirs. And that's what seemingly created this big combinational world. Because at the same time, while he mentions the three main worlds, he says that he created a bunch more, and we know from that happy fourth wall break a couple chapters ago that they exist. Someone like Aki from Monster Soul, which I wish was here. We need Aki here. He's the fall. I mean, Fuyu was from a one-shot, and there's not really much you can do about him, but even in the 2 volumes of Monster Soul, I mean, Aki had a pretty good developed personality and aspects it could have used as, this little fellow that, was bullied, and, I mean, he's still little in his normal form, then he turns into a giant horned werewolf. Could have been useful in this fight, but, I mean, he could easily, at some point, just take the concept, give it to one of these guys doing all these fairy tale spin-offs, and have it restarted. And because it would actually be kind of weird if you had like all these main characters, fighting Genesis, and then one of them is just a werewolf. I mean, he would stand out, but maybe work it into being more like a beast person instead of just a full-on animal. And Genesis, who's trying to deal with them, he's starting to get pushed because his power of creation is waning. Obviously, from the girls end up doing their thing with Blue to slowly drain Oasis. And because of that, the characters are able to get through and are able to get up and attack him. The thing that was questionable, and for one, this is just a clean panel all around. I wanted to make it bigger, but I didn't want to. I'll make it a little bit bigger. I didn't want it to go too far off screen. But what was weird is Shiki, Shiki's in his normal ether gear kind of setup. Natsu's just like in his base form. Haru has reveled. I mean, it's an Elseworld, so the characters are not going to be gapped different. I mean, if you took their power levels from their respective universes, I mean, Shiki's not going to really manage to do anything here. Again, you need to have this Elseworld so you can have them all, set up. I'm wondering if he does a continuation. I mean, you could literally just have, them still always be equal no matter what, and I don't think anybody would care. It's a crossover. It's not vital for them to, have power levels equal to of their respective universes. That's not what people want from a crossover. And that's the same thing I wanted to bring up because like Genesis is defeated here. He got some good spells off, he got some good attacks and some good moments. I'm okay with him getting defeated. Again, the thing about Genesis is he didn't come off as like some big grand like master villain. I mean, for the most part, a lot of like the way he talked and acted, he seemed pretty straightforward. And I think part of the reason that is, again, similar to like something like power levels and stuff, power level consistency with their respective universes. The bad guy doesn't need to be amazing. A crossover's entire purpose and what people want primarily is not, again, some grand villain. I mean, super awesome villains are cool. I don't think anybody expected some like top tier villain out of, a 1 volume sized series that is Heroes. What people want is the crossover, like interactions between the characters. That's what people go to crossovers for. Seeing like all the, the main characters team up, everybody grouped with their respective kind of counterparts of each series. The girls all providing their own use in this. It was all really nice. I like that about the crossover. I thought it did a really well job. We still have 2 chapters left. I know next week the magazine is on a break, and then there's a chapter, and then there's another week break. And so we'll get the last chapter of Heroes, what is that? Oh my god, even funnier. In January, around January 7th, which obviously the number 7, Hiroshima has like a thing for. So look forward to that. I'm guessing in that last chapter, we'll get at least a hint towards the next idea he has, because again, he did foreshadow the, more if he feels like it. And like I said, the fact that the gods in this universe are all, well, in this overarching universe, because it seems to be connected to all the other ones, and the fact that all the other gods are based off of mangaka, you don't just have the setup of Hiromishima's main characters. If you have, like, the, Okubo, you could have characters from, maybe not Soul Eater, because Soul Eater's not Shonen Magazine, but you could have Fire Force. You can have Nakaba as one and have 7 Deadly Sins. There's just an infinite possibilities, and similar to, like I said, that like power levels and stuff, and where the characters fit into the respective universes at this point. You don't need it. It's a crossover. It's like this conjoined Elseworld. It doesn't have to in any way reflect off of the main storylines that they're all from. You could just have them in there and do their own thing, and that's what's really neat about this that I like, because it's all this forged up like weird jumbled universe that a mangaka god created while just binge creating stories, which it's just a neat concept. but at the same time, it opens up so many possibilities that we can have. So the next chapter, chapter 10, called Mate, and it's gonna have, the double bold letter, or double capital letters for the last two letters of Hiromishima's name, which makes you wonder what the last chapter is gonna be called, because they were spelling out Hiromishima, obviously, for heroes, as the first bits in are gonna be his main characters. I wonder what the last chapter is gonna be called. Maybe it's gonna have something to do with, the concept of more to come. Maybe it'll have, like a name of hinting at, oh yeah, there's going to be more characters, more crossover events, because they're really like, next chapter is going to be like the wrap-up chapter, and then I'm guessing chapter 11 will be like the fun final goodbyes, all the characters just, being silly and having little fun side conversations and little jabs at each other. Some just for enjoyable, and then maybe, again, hints at other main characters, regardless if they're from Hiromishima works or from other existences inside of, the idea of the gods being just different mangaka in this. And then it'd be also really neat, as if anytime you get like a new successful series, you get some series that exists in Shonen magazine, it's like, oh, this is a really doing good series, this is gonna, get an anime and whatnot, blah blah blah. Then you bring them into the crossover world, and then you have, like, they can be a god of whatever their thing is, and then have their characters meet up with all the other ones. How neat would that be? And that would be such a fun thing to look forward to. Like, it's like, oh, this series is getting popular, man, I really like this. What we could get an anime, maybe it'll get more fans. And then you also look forward to, oh yeah, he could also have, or even if it's a chick main character, you're like, oh cool, they're gonna get to meet all these other main characters. And then, even if you don't check out the new series, maybe the interactions in the crossover universe is like, I really liked how, new character A and new character B interacted with my favorite main character out of this group, or the other ones, whatever. I'm interested. Or maybe you've only read the new series and you haven't read all these other ones. There's a lot of possibilities of, like, getting into it that can lead you into other stuff inside of this magazine and all the different manga that it could bring. And similar to it being kind of more of this overarching, like the magazine itself kind of universe, you can have other mangaka draw it, which I think is really cool. Like, say you have, one of them, finish their manga and they're like, I don't know what to really write about until my next idea for a manga. Do the Heroes universe, and then bam, you get to do it in your own art style. You do like a volume or so, you do your own story idea, you involve your god, the one that's based off you. You get to do your own design and have them all interact with these other ones. And there's just such a large, like, ocean of different possibilities that this, like, concept can really bring, and that's what I really like about it. And plus, if you have all of the different series existing in some giant spider net kind of like multiverse, you don't have to explain, like, oh, how do you equalize certain aspects of different, like, timelines, universe, and whatnot. It's like, no, they're crossing universes. They're in a separate universe from their own, or you just have this Elseworlds version like the ones that are in Heroes. They're not, you have their main ones out there in their own original universes, but you have this big jumbled, like, connected one too at the same time. So other than that, comment below, tell me your thoughts about this and what your input on this whole idea is. I think this is really cool, and I'm wondering if like how this works, because you could have gods, like there's gods in Fairy Tail, and like including ones like Kronos, Ankh, Saram, and whatnot, and then you have, like, those are like universe specific gods, and then you have, like, big concept of reality gods that all these, like, mangaka folk are. So other than that, like I said, comment below, thumbs up the video, friend the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. Beyond that, I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and I thank you all for listening. Bye.